Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development, where we share original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We hope you join us often for practitioner-oriented content around all things related to leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. If you enjoy the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, enjoy ad-free listening by going to the Patreon page, and please consider contributing even at the producer or sponsorship level. And please leave a review. Thank you for your support. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI Podcast episode, I talk with Dan Bruder about work-life blend versus work-life balance and infusing meaning and purpose into every job. Dan Bruder, welcome back to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thanks, Jonathan. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. You're joining us from Boulder, Colorado. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. You joined me for a nice conversation probably 6 months or so ago. We're going to continue that conversation today around work-life blend versus work-life balance and try to dig a little deeper to pull that apart and to talk about some of those ideas. As we get started, I wanted to share Dan's bio again with everybody. Dan Bruder is the CEO of Blendification, created Blendification to build a platform that would return business to its original purpose of providing solutions that positively impact employees, customers, and communities. Dan's experience in research led to the realization that to achieve human potential, work and life must be blended. Contrary to the legacy concept of work-life balance, people pursuing meaning in their life embrace the natural connection of work and life. Blendification harmonizes work and life, unifying organizational strategy management with employee growth and development. And when employees and business work in unison, business potential and employee potential complement and feed off each other. I just love that. I think that's absolutely true. Excited to dig a little deeper and talk about work-life blend. Anything else you would like to share with me or my audience by way of your background or personal context before we dive on into the conversation?
Yeah, really the only other thing is that like you, I do a little bit of teaching. It's not my career, but I teach at CU Boulder here. And while we're having a tough year on the football side, the school's doing quite well. I've also done some teaching in the executive MBA program up at CSU, Colorado State University. So I love the universities. I know you're in that space. And what you're doing there and really impacting the future leaders of this country and really shaping where their focus is, I think is critical. I do it on a very, very minute scale compared to what you're doing. But, if we're going to make changes in this world, we need to go to where the behaviors and habits are formed. And I think the universities are a great place to do that.
Yeah, well, thank you for those kind words. And yeah, I love being a professor. It's great. A great place to be, a great home base, and allows for opportunities to do other cool things like this. And it's a pleasure to be with you and to continue the conversation. As we get started, why don't you just start by perhaps providing a little bit of a recap for us from the last conversation and really your mindset and thinking around this idea of work-life blend versus work-life balance?
Yeah, if we go back, I remember work-life balance back when I was in the corporate world, working with the division of Marriott, and this was back in the 90s, and starting to age myself a little bit, right? But back in the 90s, this work-life balance came out, and people were saying, I need more balance, I need more balance. Didn't realize it at the time, but what it was really saying is look at me and how hard I'm working. I need more balance. So it was a bit of a badge of honor to say, I need to find balance. That's what I was interpreting from the people that were saying that. It didn't really register. And then over time, I've seen how the unintended consequences of work-life balance has really shaped the way we look at work. And it's typically not good. So when we look at work in the context of seeking balance, and by the way, balance is something we can never achieve. So there's a winner and loser in this equation, so to speak. And usually it's work being the loser because we shouldn't. I mean, given the choice, obviously we choose our home life over our work life. But what if we could look at work as a way to enhance our own life, our home life, not our own life, but our home life, looking at work as the ability to enhance home life. And then we change the lens by which we view work. This is further exasperated or enhanced because we spend most of our waking time in work-related activities. So when I see people talk about, in a very negative connotation, their work, I look at them and I ask the question, do you know you spend 50% or most of your waking life doing this thing that you hate? And they start stepping back and they start wondering, well, yeah, I have to do this because I have to pay my bills. And that's an element of work. But the truth is work provides so much more value and meaning if we start looking for it. So I think there's an element of leadership and management seeking ways to enhance people's overall lives through work. But we also have to hold the employees accountable too. They need to come to work by looking at work as a way to pursue their potential as a human being. So if both management and employees come together with this idea that we can grow together, I think the results are much better. And that's the idea of work-life blend. It's not about blending work with life, meaning that we're working all the time. It's the mindset of using work as a platform to grow intellectually, relationally, growing our wellness. All these things come together at work. That's the idea of blending. And I think we kind of need to throw out this hashtag work-life balance thing and replace it with hashtag work-life blend.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you're absolutely right. There's shared responsibility. I'm thinking of it from two angles. On the business side, on the corporate side, I'm a boss. I have my people, and they're looking to me, right, to provide some coaching, mentoring, career pathways, and opportunities for progression and growth and development, and et cetera. Organizations and managers should be working with their people to provide those types of opportunities. But it's not just on the manager. Like I can't force my people to develop themselves, right? They have to be willing to do the work to develop themselves, and I can assist in that process. It's the same thing, in the university space, in my classroom. I often tell my students, I'm responsible for creating a good course with good content, with good learning activities and assessments, application activities, all that kind of stuff. That's on my side. That's my responsibility. And if I do that poorly, it's on me. But if I'm doing all of that and you're not learning or you're not growing and developing, that's on you. Like you have to take ownership over it and you have to put effort into it. It doesn't just magically happen. No one can, tap you on the head with their magic wand and all of a sudden you've learned stuff. You have to do the hard work of developing. And so when we're talking about work-life blend, that's an extension of this idea of this shared responsibility. It really has to go both ways in terms of respecting each other, seeing people as a whole person, respecting their boundaries, allowing people, like you said, it's not about just having everything bleed together and always being on, always working. Mm-hmm. And I know in the mindset of some leaders, that's what it means. But it's about respecting individuals, respecting their boundaries, giving them an opportunity to grow and have more meaningful and purpose-driven life through the work that they do, but also then allowing them to have a family life and other things outside of work where you're not tightly controlling them and trying to manage everything that they're doing every day, right? And so I think ultimately, as we think about this work-life blend idea, as you're describing it, it keeps on coming back to me as meaning and purpose in the workplace. If I have a well-designed workplace with, as I think about the organizational design, as I think about the work design, as I think about, the ways that we infuse meaning and purpose into the work that our people do, I think that creates the dynamic and the environment where work-life blend can happen. And it just happens naturally at that point because people are excited to get to work. They're excited to work on cool projects with good people. It's energizing, it's reinvigorating. And yes, sometimes that means they're willing to put in a little bit of extra. They're willing to put in extra time, extra energy, because it's not energy sapping, it's energy producing by doing these really cool things, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. As we look at where we are today, and you reminded me of a couple things. COVID has obviously had a tremendous impact on society, and it has done so with work as well. And what we've found, and this is based on my observation, is that employees have lost their ability to connect with other employees and belong to something meaningful. So we say employees, but what we really mean is human beings, through this disconnection, have lost their ability to connect. And connecting and belonging is psychologically and biologically a primary driver for human beings. And when you take that primary driver away, meaning the primary driver to connect and belong, they then replace it with other things. They're going to find this, they're going to get fulfilled some other way. And sometimes that's violence, sometimes that's seclusion, all these different things. But if you don't fulfill this need, this biological and psychological need to connect and belong, what we have is people doing things that are adversarial or negative, when all we need to do is create a platform to connect and belong. And business companies, our work, has supplied this need for people for decades. Ever since we started going to a more workplace environment where work became this place where we connected with employees and we belonged to something meaningful. And that's been severed, and fairly rapidly. And we see the ramifications of that. So now it's not the employee's responsibility yet. It's the business leader's responsibility to come back in the business and use the business as a platform to create connections with employees and belonging to something meaningful. And fortunately, business has the capabilities. It's more equipped to do this than any other institution, because businesses have a culture, and if they do it right, it's an intentional culture that's designed, and then they have a strategic platform that drives to where the company is going, what it stands for. And then it has the ability to engage people at a personal level in pursuit of where the business is going. So that business structure or framework is a right way to create greater connection and belonging. So like I said, business already has the capabilities to do this if we take this process and take it down into everything that we should be doing within business. But the goal of this is to create greater connection and belonging to meaningful things so that we can better impact our employees, customers, and communities. And business serves its purpose as building a better community by doing the things that it does very, very well.
Belonging, meaning, purpose, impact, these are all the types of ideas that I want to just infuse into the common vocabulary of every leader in the world, and I love it. I love what you're saying. And I completely agree. I think there's really missed opportunity in many organizations. I would suggest probably most organizations, most jobs with most people, most workers, to really clearly identify the employee value proposition in these terms. Right? What is the difference you're going to be able to make in the business, in your team, in the world, in your community? What impact will you have? What connections can you make? Do you meaningfully belong? Like, is it truly an inclusive and belonging environment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? All of these are key components to employee value proposition in the modern world of work. Gone are the days where you just simply, have a job posting, you're a cool company to work for, you have a good salary, and people just flock to you. Like, some companies, I suppose, still have that happening, but for the most part, that's not the world of work we live in. That's not the current labor market. You have to have a clear employee value proposition, and people are demanding flexibility. They're demanding meaning and purpose. They're not putting up with bad bosses. They're not putting up with inequities, in unfairness, and all of those sorts of things. And they want to be able to do something that honors their lived experience as a holistic person, like a whole person with all the different aspects of their lives, coupled with the cool things they can do in their career, and, to help the company to bring value to the market, but also to develop themselves and to grow into their career. That's what employees need. That's what they want. And, we have a choice. Are we going to be able to provide that for them? It's an active choice. And unfortunately, many organizations, are kind of falling back on kind of the old tropes and the old mentality and the old mindset, and they're going to miss out on the best talent because of it.
Yeah, I agree. And, we clearly, the leadership team has the responsibility to spark this and kick it off, and create this ability for employees to create connections and belonging. But again, that's only half of the road. I mean, we talked about employees having responsibility and leadership having responsibility. So now maybe we should switch to employees. You kind of need to open your eyes and change the lens by which you look at work, because, work is really the most obvious place for employees to find their purpose, because they're spending most of their time. And, you work with students as I do as well. And sometimes the students seek to find the perfect role right out of college, meaning that I'm going to go out and basically single-handedly solve climate change. And then everything else that they do would be a disappointment. And I try to bring a message to them. And there's this I call this the parable of the trucker. And there's a trucker that's driving around every single day, 8 hours a day, driving throughout the country, delivering things. And he's constantly thinking about what his purpose and meaning is in life. And, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, driving around, trying to figure out what his purpose is, thereby thinking that he's not finding his purpose doing what he's doing. And then one day he's driving down a road, a tree falls down, and it causes this huge backlog of traffic. He gets out of his truck, walks to the back of his truck, pulls out his chainsaw, cuts up the tree, hauls off all the wood, opens up the freeway for people can go about their lives. And then he gets back in his truck and he starts thinking about, what is my purpose? And the truth is his purpose was probably exactly what he's doing every single day. We don't need to overcomplicate our purpose. What we need to do is be looking inside our jobs that we're currently in. It doesn't mean we have to go find a new job. We can find purpose and meaning in our jobs. If the business provides the opportunity for that meaning, then we are open to look for that meaning in what we're doing every day. We can come to this connection of meaning, and that's what we're seeking. So many times we have this purpose and meaning discussion. People take this as that I need to go solve world hunger. I need to solve some huge thing, and that's just not practical. We can be making a meaningful impact by working closely with the people next to us on a job site, putting on roofs and on a building somewhere. We just need to open our eyes to finding the purpose and meaning in what we do every day, and then we will come together and come to work more motivated every day. The company can actually see that and then reward the employees, and it becomes a symbiotic relationship, which I think is doable. And we just have to get away from this whole balance thing, right? If we can really look at this as both sides coming together, maybe we want somewhat different outcomes, but the pathway there is the same.
As a manager, as a leader, I can reframe my approach to this whole debate around face-to-face work, hybrid work, remote work, what that correct quote unquote balance is. The reality is that there's no one size fits all. There's no set answer for everyone. It's going to depend on the organization, your team. It's going to depend on the individuals on your team. And as you said, and as you alluded to, I'm a true believer that every single job has the potential to be infused with meaning and purpose and autonomy and skill mastery and development and all of these things that motivate people, that get them excited about work, that bring meaning and purpose to their lives. Every job can have that. Every job can have it. I truly believe that if we are creative about work design and job design. And if we're willing to challenge our preconceived notions, just because it's the way it's always been done, before the pandemic, it was always this face-to-face, do these things, check these boxes, this amount of butt and seat, that kind of stuff. And that's the way we always did it. So that's the way we're continuing to do it. If that's the mentality we're stuck in, then I think we're missing this whole conversation around meaning and purpose and work-life blend and infusing that meaning and purpose into every job. Because if we design jobs well, I'm a believer that every single job, every single person that works for us can have the potential to have that meaning and purpose to enrich their entire lives. It doesn't mean everyone will take that opportunity,
right?
Because they still have to choose to lean into that and to accept it and to put the effort in to have the meaning and purpose. But I believe that we as employers and as leaders can help every single job to have the opportunity for that meaning and purpose if we'll just be creative, if we'll get out of our own way and challenge our preconceived notions and the assumptions about how things have to be because it's always been that way.
Yeah, you had said something a minute ago about employers just kind of going through the process and doing this and managing the way we used to manage, and that's not going to work anymore. We know that, and we were moving down that path pre-COVID, but it just basically accelerated everything. So right now, it's really the business leader's responsibility to create an environment that allows people to pursue their human potential through work. Now, at the same time, we as leaders may be sparking that potential through work, but some people's potential can't be sparked through our role, through working for our companies. So then in their best interest, we need to help them find another path if that path isn't through our organization. So what I'm saying here is not about, lifetime guaranteed employment. This is about finding a mix and a match where we can pursue our potential together. And if an employee is not willing to pursue their human potential through this role, and we're not connecting, there's probably a better place for them to do that. And that's the nice, especially about today's environment. The nice thing is there's plenty of options for people to go find their meaning through work. And it doesn't have to be my company. And if we have if we have the structural platform in a business where we have meaning, we've identified clear culture, we have a connected strategic platform, we engage others in the pursuit of something meaningful, we start connecting employees at the grassroots level. If we do all these things and that's not right for somebody, I guarantee you we have a line of people just knocking on the door saying, I want some of that. Let me in. And we don't have to worry about this thing called the Great Resignation if we are doing this whole, we call it a blended company, right? If we have a blended company and we're connecting all these facets, we don't necessarily have to worry about, who's here and who's not here, because the people that stay will be the people that want to be there. We don't have to be all things for everybody.
Yeah, well said, Dan. Dan, it has just been a real pleasure. The time has flown by again. I'm going to have to let you go here in a minute, but before we wrap things up again for today, I just want to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you and find out more about your work, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Yeah, this is great. I love chatting with you because you get me really excited about this topic. And blendification, really, our website, blendification.com. I did a TED Talk on this too a few years ago called The Blendification of Work and Life Builds Communities. That's a nice little reference. We built software actually to do this for companies because we had a consulting practice, and I felt like we never could touch everybody in the company through consulting, traditional consulting. So we built software that actually does everything we used to do at the executive level, but now the person that we hired yesterday for essentially $22 an hour can now have access to the same level of motivation and engagement and growth and development. So it's really about putting this in the hands of everyone in the company so that we can create a blended company. And you can check that out on our website. But man, if anybody has any topics of conversation, just send me an email at dan.bruder@blendification.com. I'd love to chat with anybody about this because this topic is super motivating, and I think it's the pathway to creating a greater society.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dan. It's been a real pleasure. I encourage my audience to reach out, get connected, find out more about what Dan can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. and I hope you all have a great week. Do you enjoy the Human Capital Innovations podcast? Enjoy ad-free listening by going to the Patreon page, and please consider contributing even at the producer or sponsorship level. And please leave a review. Thank you for your support. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week.